Hello guys, I wanted to do a fun video today. So I'm going to be rating the top 100 cryptos as a tier list by what I think is investment opportunity. I don't want to say investment potential because as the coins get smaller, obviously they'll have more upside, but there's also more risk involved. So I'm just rating them by what I think is most worthy to hold and then going by tiers. So here's what I got, the top 100 coins, and I took out all of the stable coins, and also there was Pax Gold, which is just tracking gold price. So took those out, but here are all the other coins. Let's get right into it. Just gonna start from the first one. So Aave, DeFi overall is a pretty underperforming sector right now. It has been for like 2 years now, ever since DeFi summer. But Aave is one of the leaders in this space. So I think judging from right now, it's one of the least hyped sectors, but it is a really big sector that will have a comeback. So I would put it somewhere between B and C. I will put it in B for now because nobody's talking about it, which means it's decent. Algorand, a lot of people are not going to like this, but Algorand is really good technology. They have a lot of partnerships with people like World Cup, but Algorand Foundation and Algorand investors have a big problem with selling the early investor tokens. This has been plaguing them for years now. And I think if you participated in the Algorand ICO, I don't think you even made money. I think they did the token sale way too expensive. So I'm going to say either C or D. I don't really want to hold this. Their technology is good. They have a lot of partnerships, etc., but they are constantly selling tokens, which is hurting token price. So I don't plan to hold Algorand. I'm going to put it in C for now. ApeCoin, long-term ApeCoin is like in the C or D's because, I mean, there's not much there, right? They have so many other assets within Bored Ape Yacht Club. I would rather hold a actual NFT, which is the flagship thing, instead of ApeCoin. In the short term, right, there is the staking update, which I've talked about many times. So I'm going to put it in B or C. I wouldn't put it above Algorand for long term. So let's just put it in C. The only reason it's not in D is because it's staking update, which is coming in the short term. Aptos is interesting. I think it's too early to tell. So the Move ecosystem is really good. Move language is really good. If you're a Solana developer, it helps you a lot to develop smart contracts and dApps. But Aptos itself, they also raised way too much money. The valuation is way too high. So I wouldn't hold any Aptos at this point. I would also put it in C for now. Arweave, a bit of an underperformer, actually. Not a lot of people know what Arweave does. So Arweave is a permanent storage blockchain. I'm not sure if you even classify it as blockchain, but you can think of it as you can run any sort of Google Drive on top of Arweave. It's stored permanently versus something like Filecoin, which is temporary. Arweave, it's stored once and then you pay once and it's stored forever. So it's really good for storing things like NFT metadata, NFT images, videos, etc., rich data. And recently, I think Meta and Instagram announced that they are using Arweave to store their NFTs. So this is really good. I think Arweave has had an underwhelming performance in the last bull market, only towards the end where NFT infrastructure was picking up. People were noticing Arweave, but still many people don't know what Arweave does to this day. So I will put it at least at B. I think it could be even bigger. It could be even at A if the decentralized web narrative comes up where, yeah, there are quite a few ways that Arweave could be much bigger in the next cycle. So I'm going to put Arweave in A. AVAX. So AVAX, at least it's a EVM layer 1 versus Aptos and Algorand, etc. And their ICO participants made a lot of money. So they didn't launch at too high of a valuation. It was a gradual ramp up in the public markets. Nowadays, there are definitely better choices out there in terms of alternative layer 1s. So highest I would put it as B. They're closing themselves up a little bit too much. They really want to let people use subnets. Their EVM isn't really too latched onto big narratives. They try to make it big in gaming, but it didn't really play out too much. Now they're just a 6th player up after in the EVM space. Yeah, B at most. Axie Infinity AXS. Hard to say with this one. So they have had quite a bit of rough time, especially after the Ronin hack. But I have heard that they have major reductions in the issuance rates for both ASX and SLP. So I gotta look into this one. I'm not so sure. I'm gonna put it in C for now. Basic attention token. This is the token of the Brave browser. You can use it to pay for ads to appear in other people's browser pop-ups. You can also earn it by viewing ads. Aside from that, I don't know if there's any progress for it. It might be a D for me, to be honest. It's also too old. If this was Brave browser, if they had any sort of relationship of Brave browser's adoption and some sort of revenue sharing going into basic attention token, that would be great. But right now it's just pure utility. So that's why it's not so great for investment. Bitcoin, obviously S tier. The way I think about it is Bitcoin, obviously, it's not going to outperform a lot of these other coins because it's so big. But Bitcoin is the biggest coin, right? So it has to survive the market in order for everything else to survive. So by nature, it has the lowest risk in all of crypto. And the way I see it, at the current price of around 20K, by the next bull run peak, I see it as at least a 5x from here. So if you think of it like that, if you're even considering investing into crypto at all, you should definitely have Bitcoin. So that's why I put it as S tier, right? Something you should definitely have. This green one, I think it's Bitcoin Cash, D tier. It's not like a scam project. A lot of the FUD people already know. If you like Bitcoin Cash, you will like it. The same as BSV, I'll put it as B tier. If you like it, if you dislike it, whatever, if it speaks to you or not. But the way I see it, there's no way for these to outperform Bitcoin, right? The bigger Bitcoin gets, I feel like the less appealing these become. So yeah, that's just how I see it. Bitcoin Cash is like, okay, they tend to latch on to some of the core infrastructure of Bitcoin, such as Bitcoin.com, right? And there are some other exchanges that tend to promote Bitcoin Cash alongside with Bitcoin. But for the most part, most people discover Bitcoin, they don't even consider Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. So BitDAO, this is the token launched by Bybit, I think, as their semi-like investment DAO. I don't think there is any revenue sharing of their treasury at all. It's just they invest that money and they tell you how much it's worth. And then the market cap is this token. And then it's like soft linked. You can compare it. But I don't think you can claim any of those. I'm not even sure if there's any utility for BitDAO token. So I'm going to say C or D tier. I'll put it as C for now because it is a bit newer than this one's. So they could come out with something new. And also because they have a real business technically behind it, which is Bybit. So this one is BitTorrent, C tier. Again, something that has a real business behind it, even though there's no revenue sharing, they at least have big revenue. Yeah, here. And also Justin Sun, he's a master in shilling. So any of his coins will be integrated everywhere in all the exchanges and DeFi things he does. So that's another plus for the price performance long term. He's at least not going to let it die. Binance Coin, either or A. Hard to say. I'll put it in A for now. Binance Coin is a really good example of a big business, super successful, super good product, and it has real revenue sharing. So Binance Buyback and Burn is the real program, and they very transparently release their earnings reports and then how big a percentage actually gets burned to Buyback and Burn BNB is real, right? So you can track all of it on chain versus all of the other exchanges. They don't do it honestly if you compare it to something like FTT. So that's why FTT here will rate it later on. BTSE token. This is the exchange token of BTSE. I'm going to put it as probably D tier because exchange tokens that don't have that much transparent burning is one thing. And also nobody uses BTSE exchange. So I don't know why it's even in the top 100. It's probably because it's very propped up, heavily traded on their exchange, and just have a large amount of tokens to be unlocked. So naturally the market cap is just high. Cardano, at least B tier, I would say. B tier seems like a good place. Since last bull market, so last bull market, Cardano did really well. 2021 bull market, it also did decently well. But for the most part, it's done fairly well. And they also have one of the biggest communities in all of crypto. I think by wallet count and by staker count, they are number one, I think, at least B tier. I would even consider putting it at A tier if they can really become more of a productive ecosystem with real apps. But so far, it still just seems like they're onboarding more and more stakers, more and more word of mouth, which is a good thing. So at least B tier. Celsius, F tier. Chainlink, probably B tier. Again, really popped up beginning of 2020, late 2020-ish. By the major bull market this run, they already were a little bit too big, but they also still have one of the biggest communities in all of crypto, so at least B tier. Looking at some of the major things coming up, Chainlink is moving really heavily into interoperability, so that could be one bullish case for it. So I might put Chainlink in A tier actually for the next run. Depends. If the omni-chain narrative can really become big, the multi-chain narrative, Chainlink is one of the key leaders in that space, actually. Someone that doesn't create a closed ecosystem, but rather connects and integrates everyone else. This is what they did with oracles, and now it's the default oracle solution for everything. They might become the default cross-chain solution for everything. So I might put it as A tier. I'm not so sure. Let's put B tier for now. We'll revisit. Chiliz, maybe B tier. I would put it as low B. It's definitely not as high as Cardano or Chainlink, but it has a very unique angle of sports related fan tokens, and it's the pretty much only player and the most dominant player in that scene. So with this time, the World Cup coming up, you see its effects. They will just continue to expand after this. So I would say B tier for now. Cosmos, B tier for now, maybe A tier. If I put Cosmos in A tier, I will also have to put Chainlink in A tier, I would say, and maybe even Cardano. Yeah, since Arweave is A tier, I will put Cosmos and Chainlink in A tier. So Cosmos, again, one of the most overlooked ecosystems and technologies in the 2021 bull market. Main reason is Atom tokenomics wasn't really aligned with its adoption, but Atom 2.0 really changed that. And I feel like next cycle, they could really become big. Yeah, I see Cosmos and Chainlink both as they will at least remain in top 20. I think they both should be in top 10. They should oscillate in and out of top 10. Chronos, CRO, maybe B tier for now, I would say. Yeah, they're not at the same stage as Binance yet, BNB. They have a really big penetration. Their business, the exchange itself, the app itself is huge, and there is a decent chunk of revenue sharing. They did one huge buyback and burn, and then they haven't done any direct buybacks. But what they do is every single user that gets onboarded, what they want is for people to stake, right? So every program in the Crypto.com app is around staking CROs. That's a good thing. They also executed the Chronos chain really well, so that speaks to their ability. Yeah, I would say B tier for now. Curve Finance, since Aave is here, Curve Finance probably B tier. So they're also another leader in DeFi, which is very underlooked right now. So I think they'll have a major comeback. And Curve, the exchange itself, the stablecoin swap, definitely the number one leader. If you're swapping any stablecoin with another in all of crypto, you're going through Curve because they have the best rates, they have the best math. And there's a huge ecosystem built on top of the CRV token as well, to stake it and get more rewards, get more trading fees. So yeah, Curve, they're also launching their stablecoin later this year, which actually will have revenue sharing, I think. B tier. Decentraland, I almost want to put it as D tier. Yeah, Decentraland, I'm not so sure. Might have to be D tier. Because the only thing going for Decentraland is the Metaverse narrative, and specifically the business development of Metaverse. So the only way to pump these things, right? We already know Sandbox and Decentraland, they don't really have that many real users. Their concurrent users are tiny. It's embarrassing. On top of that, right? Decentraland has already released. You can play Decentraland versus Sandbox. At least they're still building stuff up. There's more assets, but the main game haven't released. And when you compare Decentraland with Sandbox, Sandbox has way stronger business development. They constantly engage new brands to onboard them to Sandbox plots to build stuff on there versus Decentraland, really not much. So probably D tier. Dash, privacy coins, I just wouldn't hold any right now. F tier. They're very important. They're very good technology. I really wish they were higher, but so far it's something I completely need to avoid. Like I cannot hold privacy coins because regulation is just, you're going to get hunt down. So Dogecoin, some people will say it's S tier, some people will say it's F tier. I'll put it as C for now. It's stronger than these things because it has hype going for it, but I wouldn't say it's as productive as these other ones. So C tier. Ecash, I'm not so knowledgeable on what these guys actually do. C tier, I guess. I gotta read up on it. Omi, it's one of the more productive gaming slash like collectible coin. Their Weave collectibles are really popular. They have a very strong retail user base, even though majority of the mainstream crypto don't really talk about it. B or C, I would say. C for now. Yeah, because they're not as big as companies or protocols as these guys. So C for now. Rond, layer 1, but not very seen out as a layer 1. Yeah, C tier, I would say. Especially given they don't have that big of an ecosystem, like not that vibrant of a open ecosystem that a lot of people are just like, oh, we got to develop something on Elrond. All the time you hear people, what are our choices when we want to develop something? It's Ethereum or Solana or other EVMs, right? How do we scale on top of Ethereum? They would pick Polygon, or they would consider the other EVMs like Avalanche. If they want to go application specific, they might go Flow, they might go Near, but Elrond is just very down the line. Engine, one of the legacy gaming chains, but they have done so many other projects now, like with Infinity, and even that didn't do too well. I would give it a C tier. Yeah, just because they're really falling behind in the gaming narrative. They were one of the first to do it, and they had even integration with Minecraft since way back. But nowadays, there's so many easier bets than them because no new games is actually building on Engine nowadays. They just pick Polygon or Solana, right? Because the whole ecosystem is vibrant. There are new users and there are new tools for developers coming up. EOS, D tier. Like there was a whole fiasco with the Block 1 just pretty much abandoning the network, and now it's been taken over by EOS Network Foundation, which is separate from Block.1, but they don't have access to the original ICO funds to develop the network more. So it's really sad, but yeah, EOS probably D tier for now. Ethereum Classic, D tier, if not F tier. Sometimes Ethereum Classic could be worth it, right? So Ethereum Classic, I would not develop on it. I would not trust it because it's constantly getting 51% attacked. There's still proof of work, but nobody really minds Ethereum Classic that much for it to be usable for those same level of applications on Ethereum. But every once in a while, there will be narratives popping up when Ethereum has some like weird thing going on, like the Ethereum 2.0 merge, and then people are doubting Ethereum, then Ethereum Classic will pump a bit, and then afterwards it dies down again. So I think for that narrative, it's worth looking at sometimes. So I'll put it D tier, not F tier. It's not completely dead. Ethereum tier, clearly, like you have to have Ethereum. If you believe in smart contracts at all, if you believe blockchains will be productive and executing in this decentralized world computer sense, Ethereum is the number one, right? It's the technology that powers it all. Even though it's not all on the Ethereum blockchain, it's on other EVMs, it's on layer 2s, other chains, some take some things off chain, but Ethereum is the one that started it all, and it's still the main kind of settlement place, the snapshot place where all the layer 2s, all the interoperability stuff writes to. So definitely S tier, you have to have Ethereum. This one, Ethereum proof of work, it's going to die. It's going to go to 0. So F tier. EVM OS thing one. So this is the main EVM environment on top of Cosmos. So the team and technology behind it comes from a team called Ethermint. It's a combination of Ethereum with Tendermint. So it is a very old team, actually. I think they were around even in 2017. The technology was very long term. However, I just don't see it as implemented anywhere. I don't see much of a developer community on there. It's not even in the conversation when we consider new projects. What are you building on? If you say, oh, I'm building on EVM OS as our ecosystem, like why? So sadly for that, probably going to be C tier. Yeah. Phantom, probably also C tier for the same reason. Ever since Andre Cronje left and the whole fallout. Phantom is just, it's kind of, yeah, it's very dead. Nobody really wants to build on there. Same as like Harmony, but Harmony is not even on this list. They could have a comeback. So these things with EVM OS, with Elrond, Algorand, these layer Aptos, even Engine, Phantom, when you're a layer 1 and your team is still vibrant, it's still developing, you have a lot of developer capability and a huge amount of treasury, which all these layer 1s do. When the next bull run comes, and if there is some other narrative, they could easily go to support that, right? That's why the layer 1s really popped off in this cycle, is because Phantom, Harmony, Avalanche included, I think. What are some other layer 1s, right? Mostly all the popular layer 1s that were EVM in the 2021 bull market, they didn't start off trying to be Ethereum killers, trying to copy Ethereum. But when the timing was right, when Binance Smart Chain launched and then Polygon launched their side chain, the Matic network, people realized that, okay, this is a really big land grab. People are bridging everywhere. So because they have those fundamental layer of the blockchain built and they have a big team and they have big treasury, they pivoted to these EVM environments right away and super easily. So don't write off these just yet. I would write off DOS because even though they have money, they're no longer working on it. But don't write these off, because if there's some other narrative popping up and it involves having a base layer and pivoting very quickly and having a lot of money, these guys could go there right away. So don't write them off just yet. Filecoin, although the technology is really good, it powers pretty much everything in NFTs with IPFS, with Filecoin, with storing metadata, storing images, storing other types of files. The Filecoin tokenomics is kind of, they have, I think, more than $10 billion fully diluted market cap. I think it's even bigger than that. I don't have the full number with me right now. So if you ask me for technology, it would be in A or B tier at least, but holding it, probably C tier. Yeah, they are. So in comparison with Arweave, even though Filecoin powers way more stuff than Arweave, their tokenomics is just messed up. So yeah, probably C tier. Both Filecoin and Arweave are really primed for the decentralized web, decentralized social, other non-financial parts of decentralized technology in the next bull run. But tokenomics is a major part that you need to work out. Flow blockchain, we also C tier. Again, it's big. Dapper Labs is big. They had a huge run with NBA Top Shot and a few other collections as well. But right now, there's not that big of an ecosystem. I don't even think there is any open ecosystem. Yes, you can develop on it, but most of the things that Flow endorses and takes, most of the projects that takes off and has traction on Flow ecosystem is made by Flow themselves. So probably C tier. Again, don't write them off. They're very rich. They have a big developer capacity within their own team. So whenever there's a point and there's a land grab for them to go, they definitely will do it. So don't write them off. Frax share, I would say B tier, because again, you notice how I'm like leaning more towards DeFi in this list. Most of the really open DeFi coins that have very clear tokenomics, very clear revenue sharing, and very clear governance, I tend to put in B because first of all, DeFi has been under the radar for so long now. Ever since DeFi summer, basically since end of 2020, DeFi has been just down only, right? People beat on DeFi. Nobody wants to touch DeFi coins, right? So it's been like almost 2 years now. At some point, they will have a major comeback. And Frax, with the Frax stablecoin, they're really taking over. Like they are so now you have USDT, USDC, BUSD, DAI, and then you have Frax. And the unique narrative for Frax is they are pretty much the only decentralized stablecoin that works well. If you count MIM, Magic Internet Money, even though, you know, there was huge FUD for it with Luna related. If you don't count MIM, Frax is the only decentralized stablecoin that's functioning well. Because DAI nowadays, it's heavily dependent on USDC. If USDC dies, DAI will die. Frax, however, it's not, because it's not heavily collateralized by any other stablecoins. So for that point, and because Frax shares has clear revenue sharing, clear DAO governance model, yeah, I would put it as B tier. FTX token, oof. So FTX exchange is good, but I would not hold any FTT. I'll put it as D tier. Reason report that came out said that FTX and Alameda hold huge amounts of FTT, and they use it as collateral to borrow against. They borrow other stable coins and dollar against their FTT, which they own, they invented, to trade other assets. And on top of that, FTT really, even though on surface they have revenue sharing, but when you compare the actual numbers, Binance burns hundreds of millions. I think they burn something like 500 million per quarter. They buy back and burn BNB. FTX and FTT, they burn like 2 to 3 million per week, like 5 million per week, let's say. So per quarter, that's how much? 4, 16, like 80. I think I'm even like over quoting the numbers. I think the numbers are a lot lower than that. I think 5 million is not accurate. I think it's something like 50 million per quarter. So they're definitely making way more money than that. So they're pretty much just keeping up the price so they can keep the market cap high, and they can keep borrowing against it. But I don't think FTT is a major part of their business for the price to go up. So probably D tier. And for how shady this whole thing is, and for the risk that they put on FTT, the token itself, by borrowing against it so much and owning majority of the supply, D tier. I don't want to hold it. Gate.io token, yeah, same thing with the other exchange coins. Because if you have BNB, like why would you hold Gate? So it's what it is. If you compare something like BitDAO, like at least Bybit is stronger than Gate. And also it's a DAO format, they do investments, and there's that kind of correlation that you can speculate on. Gate, there's nothing else, right? So Hedera, maybe B tier. I would say they're a bit stronger than Algorand and bit stronger than Algorand and Elrond, as at least they, yeah, hard to say. I'll put it in B for now, yeah. Because Hedera, at least they went ahead and implemented EVM, and for the most part, they didn't pump the price too high and the valuations too high right out the gate. So public investors did have upside potential. And nowadays, also in the 2021 bull market, you didn't hear of them too much until the very end. So yeah, I would say B tier for now. Yeah. And also reports, they also don't have that much of a token selling problem with Algorand. So most of Algorand's kind of money making comes from them having to sustain the price and then sell algo tokens. With Hedera, I think I saw a report that they actually had like something like $2 billion in their treasury. And this is not accounting for HBAR tokens. I think this is actually other coins. So I think their tokenomics wise, their financials are a lot stronger than something like Algorand. Helium, probably B tier because it's very unique. Helium with their miners, with their 5G network penetration, very unique. And they're completely dominating that niche. Nobody else really does it. So when you compare it like that, there's a solid chance for it to grow much bigger. Yeah. I would say B tier for Helium, yeah. Because it's not copying anyone and nobody is able to copy them. So that's super unique. Huobi token, probably D tier, yeah. ICP, F tier. You guys know the drill. Investors constantly dumping. And because when you compare something like this versus stuff in the C tier, at least stuff in the C tier, like they maintain the price and with their public investors, they don't lose money. And they have sort of an ecosystem, and some people made money, some people lost money, and overall people are like fighting against each other, and it is generating buzz. With ICP, it's consensus that loses money in ICP, and it's just down only. There's no saving it at this point. So IOTA, we C tier also. It's too old. It's the network. When your network shuts down for a week, you know how it is. Yeah, I might even put it as D tier, to be honest. Yeah, probably D tier. I would compare it to Ethereum Classic nowadays. KuCoin shares, D tier, same as the other exchange tokens. There's just really nothing that stands out against Binance. Chronos is pretty good, but the other ones are just no. Because there's no integration, right? When someone goes on KuCoin, the exchange, Huobi the exchange, Gates the exchange, FTX exchange, I don't see the token mentioned anywhere. I don't see how I need to use the token to stake it for what. Like it's not a necessity. And I don't get the revenue for it. For Chronos, there's a staking. It's integrated everywhere. For BNB, it's buyback and burn everywhere. And everything is denominated in BNB. So that's what sets it apart. Lido, maybe B tier. I would say B tier because they are completely dominating the liquid staking environment. Yeah, B tier. They completely dominate Ethereum staking. So simple as that, I think. And pretty much every other chain will have liquid staking, and by TVL and by how much money is locked up in Lido's infrastructure, they're definitely dominating. Yeah. So each proof of stake network, I think eventually will be integrated into Lido. And when you compare, so when you look for a staking provider that's something like Lido, like decentralized, you have to trust that their governance model works, their security works, their infrastructure works. And you look at that by how long the platform has been running and what people think about it, how decentralized it is, and their governance and DAO, how long has it been running, and also how much money is locked up in there, right? So in that front, nobody can really compare with them. All other staking pools are tiny compared to Lido. When I say staking pool, I mean decentralized staking pool. Litecoin, probably D tier. You know, you have Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SCV, Litecoin. The way I see it, if you hold Bitcoin, there's no reason for you to hold Litecoin. There's absolutely no reason. So Loopring, B tier. It's one of the few coins that have pretty much all of their tokens unlocked. So there's no tokenomics problem. There's no investor dumping problem. It is actually in a lot of retail investors' eyes. So huge fan base with penetration in the Walmart partnership, in the Wall Street Bets community. And on top of that, they do ZK, right? So even though they did very early on ZK and it was only one use case to use on the Loopring exchange, but they are in the ZK narrative. And nowadays they can easily brand themselves as a ZK rollup layer 2, ZK whatever. And when the ZK hype wave starts, they're going to be right in front of that. So at least B tier, maybe even A tier. This is a weird pick, but Loopring is one of the few that is like ZK, good tokenomics, listed everywhere, no investor problems, and in retail's eyes, right? So that's really rare combination. Yeah, at least B tier. Luna Classic, short term, there's money to be made. Long term, it's obviously going to go to zero. So a D tier for now. MakerDAO, I'm not sure if it's B or C. So because MakerDAO is the original, they made the original decentralized stablecoin DAI. However, nowadays it's a bit too legacy, I would say. Nobody really considers Maker as the top of the DeFi infrastructure again, and during them innovating. So yeah, I might put it as C, to be honest. Mina protocol. Mina is a very new project. It's a ZK / privacy focused layer 1. However, their use of ZK is privacy focused. So unfortunately, I have to put it in F tier. I have to avoid it. Their technology is really sound. It's super elegant, but for the way it is, and same as Monero, the next one, has to put in F tier because I don't want to touch any privacy focused coins right now because of regulation. They just have huge problem with liquidity, with exchange listings, with which countries can actually even buy it. So until that happens, right, Mina will stay in this tier. However, if privacy tech gets green light and people start developing privacy focused applications, Mina will move way up. But for now, they're F tier. Near protocol, I will put B tier because yeah, they didn't really receive that much hype, pretty much only towards the late stage of 2021 bull market. And you saw how quickly they were able to latch on to the cross-chain narrative, but they weren't initially going to be a copy-paste EVM. So yeah, huge treasury, huge developer community. Yeah, at least B tier. They're one of the layer ones that still haven't popped up, I would say. Neo, legacy, nothing really happening on there. For the sake of not trashing it, I'm going to put it in D tier, but yeah, it's F tier stuff is just like a void. D tier is, it's not going to go anywhere. Nexo, probably D tier. Again, it's very similar type of platform to Celsius, even though they're not bankrupt. But again, you don't get much benefits or any revenue sharing at all with the Nexo token. So probably D. OKX exchange token, D tier, same as the other exchange tokens. Like there's no need for it. Osmosis. So Osmosis technology is good. It's the leading decentralized exchange on top of the Cosmos ecosystem. But at the current stage, like Osmo has really bad inflation problems. It's constantly getting inflated away and people are earning it to farm and dump. So I'm gonna put it as I don't want to put it as D because it's not useful, right? As Cosmos becomes bigger, it's the leading DEX token you pair with Cosmos ecosystem. However, they really need to fix the tokenomics problem. It's a huge problem. And the valuation is also really high for DEX. There's nothing like it's in the same league as PancakeSwap, same league as Uniswap, but it's just not deserving for that kind of valuation yet because there's not that much trading happening on Cosmos ecosystem. And PancakeSwap and Uniswap don't have the tokenomics problem like Osmosis do. Speaking of PancakeSwap, at least C tier, I don't want to put it as B tier because technology-wise, they don't have much going for it, but they have huge treasury. They have super capable team building not really infrastructure, but decentralized applications. The PancakeSwap actually supported Aptos and it was super quick. I think they only took them like a couple weeks to deploy on Aptos. So they could become a powerhouse. I think they really, right now, I think the main thing is because BSC is still such a vibrant community for shitcoin trading, they want to continue to focus on BSC and get those trading fees, those revenue, accumulate their treasury. But once the BSC hype dies down, whatever the decentralized exchange place is, they can deploy on there in just a couple weeks. And pretty much they have unlimited resources. And their token don't have the farming problem, and they're listed on Binance. They have such a close relationship with Binance. At least C tier. Yeah, at least C tier. I might even put it as B tier, to be honest. Let me think. Yeah, comparing it, well, okay, because I put Phantom, Engine, Brand, these other things in C tier, I have to put this in C tier. It's like the difference between C and B is not really how big the team is, how capable they are, how big the treasuries are, but rather have they figured out a unique angle that they can go towards, and they're actively working on it right now. I think everyone in B has figured out some sort of product market fit that they can just continue building on. Everyone in C is a little bit washed off or a little bit unclear, right? Engine a little bit washed, Elrond a little bit washed. Algorand, they have to figure out like quite a bit of problem with their tokenomics. Apecoin, a little bit of washed. BitDarren, Phantom, EVMOS. Like these are all very capable teams, very rich teams. PancakeSwap, Osmosis included, but they have to grab the right attention and grab the right time to pivot into something bigger. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Polkadot. So since I put Algorand here, I'm going to put Polkadot in C. So Polkadot is super extremely rich, obviously, super extremely big fan base, but for all of the hype and narrative and everything they had, they didn't really take advantage of it that well. So nowadays, there are still a lot of crowd loans happening on Polkadot, but nobody talks about these. Nobody cares. Nobody's building on Polkadot projects. And even though there's still parachains, parathreads happening on Polkadot, mainly it's just there to ride the Polkadot, its own ecosystem, to suck up even more money from the Polkadot diehard fans. But there's no new money coming into Polkadot. Now, that's not to say it won't happen. I think it will happen because they are so big. But what narrative will that be like? What are they going to drive? If they continue to just be this close ecosystem, new parachains suck up existing DAO holders' money, new parachains suck up existing money, that's just not going to be sustainable. And they're not going to grow outside. So C tier for them. Polygon, A tier. A tier, yeah. They have latched on to everything possible. They have executed super well in the layer 1 scene because before a lot of people don't know this, before Polygon became the leader in layer 2s, they actually were a layer 1. So they had their own proof of stake side chain, which in the initial days of Ethereum, this was the way to scale, is to bridge to somewhere else with a whole separate blockchain and have a way to bridge back. This was the scaling. So they had this side chain, and it was the second EVM chain to come up after BSC, I think. So technically they were a layer 1 at that stage. And then afterwards, they did their ZK rollups, they did ZK EVMs, they acquired people, and they latched onto the gaming scene as well. They latched onto Instagram and Meta with NFTs. They did everything possible. Their BD team is just insanely strong. So now what's upcoming, right? If Metaverse takes off, Polygon's going to be there. Gaming takes off, Polygon's there. Ethereum layer 2s take off, Polygon's there. ZK EVM, Polygon is there. Like app chains, right? With sub AVAX subnets, they replicated that with supernets. Like Polygon is just, there's no narrative that they are not in. So it's really mind-bending how strong their business development team is. So definitely A tier. Yeah, they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to remain at least in top 20, probably closer to top 15, top 10. Quant, probably B tier, like at least, so they haven't really got a kind of open ecosystem for developers to build on, but at least they are able to push the price up and they're able to generate a lot of hype for their holders and their retail community. Under the hood for their overledger, it is more corporate-y, centralized type of narrative, but it is their own narrative. They generated it and they are still working on it. Their team is clearly capable. Their money is not a problem. So B tier, right? They don't have the money problem or the narrative problems or the generating hype problems as these guys in C. Radix, C, it's probably low C because they're not even as rich as these other guys. And their DeFi layer 1 type of narrative is very washed up. So Shiba Inu, C tier, again, like it could have its day, but the main thing driving Shiba and Doge is just fan base, right? So I don't even know how rich Shiba and Doge teams are. So can they even latch onto something, or can somebody else take their existing thing and then push something out of it? They do have the Shibarium layer 2, but that has been just delayed after delay after delay. Now rumors are saying it's Q1 next year. Yeah, C tier for now. Like these guys are in unique positions, right? Because they have such attention. Everyone knows Shiba Inu coin. Everyone knows Dogecoin. Way more, right? If you compare purely how many people know their coin name, they're like on top in S tier, right? These guys. But what can they do with that? And is there a company or corporation or some leader that can drive that to not only make themselves rich, but also make their ecosystem big and make their holders rich? For them, there's not really anyone to drive that. So that's why they're C tier. Solana, I would say B for now, because they are strong. They are very capable. They're very rich. The narrative that they're pushing is somewhat a little bit too narrow because their ecosystem is so close. They pretty much have to make it work for a centralized, super performant layer 1 blockchain that is like aimed for gaming. That is their like very narrow scene. So yeah, I would say B tier. These guys in A, they're very adaptable, right? With BNB, with Arweave, with Chainlink, Cosmos, right? Interoperability is such a big open thing that everyone can, there's so many places that they can plug into. Solana is just, okay, like you build on Solana or you don't build on Solana. And Polygon is like, this integrate Polygon, right? Solana is, do you support Solana or not? So that's why I put them in B. I still think they have a lot of potential because their execution is just so spot on. Their breakout success and sustained in the top 10 is so mind-blowing that they definitely deserve to be in B. Stellar, what are they doing? Okay, since we have XRP, right? If you hold XRP, why do you hold Stellar? That makes no sense. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have ISO 20022 coins, right? If you're bullish on that, why would you hold all of them? Like that whole narrative is all around central banks using them to build central bank digital currencies, to build cross-border payment systems, and the fact that they are not securities, etc. But the only one under challenge right now is XRP, right? These other guys all face the same problem if XRP loses the lawsuit. If XRP wins the lawsuit, okay, these guys, maybe they're clear, maybe they're not. And on top of that, there is no Stellar army. There's just the XRP army, right? XRP army loves coins that are similar to XRP. But if I make a video talking about I love Stellar but I hate XRP, like nobody will like that video. There's no fan base for that, right? So the way I see it, XRP army, you got to give it to them. Like XRP is not going to die. I'm probably going to put XRP as A tier, even though I don't like it at all. Their marketing is so guerrilla and so genius that will be there. And I think they have a decent like chance for a 10x by the next bull run. XRP and Ripple Labs will continue to make a lot of money from this, from selling XRP, from their escrow. But yeah, the way I see it, because there's XRP, like why do you need stuff like XDC, Stellar, these other things that do this essentially the same thing, but have literally no fan base? for them dedicated in comparison to XRP. It just doesn't make much sense for these legacy coins. So just hold XRP. Synthetics, I'll put it as C tier, because even though it's one of the leaders in DeFi, same as Maker and Synthetics haven't been doing anything at all for the past year. Their teams have started to build other stuff. So yeah, I would say in comparison to Aave, to Frax, Lido, these guys are not that productive right now in the DeFi scene. Tezos, probably D tier. So the reason why Tezos is D and not in C is because if you look at the other layer ones that were similar to Tezos, that have a very capable team, very big community, and a lot of money to build stuff, they all pivoted in the 2021 bull market to do EVMs, to latch onto that scene and make their ecosystem big, driven, right? They are motivated to do this and to make their token holders rich. But looking at Tezos, they didn't do it. Like, why did they not do it? They could have easily implemented EVM on top of it in 2021 and caught the wave, but they didn't. So that puts, in my eyes, that puts them in the same league as us. Like, they just gave up. So it's sad, but it's there. Same as IOTA. Like, why did they not do a layer one? Why did they not pump from the layer one hype? Why did they not do a EVM? So the graph, probably B tier. Yeah. So tokenomics wise, really sound actually. Don't have investor dumping problem. And they are, even though they're not so like layer one level, but they are the most dominating player in a very specific niche that's used in all blockchains, which is indexing data, right? So all of these blockchains, as long as you have some sort of infrastructure and you want to serve developer community to read and write from your blockchain, the graph sits right in that service layer to serve all blockchains developers. And because it's a decentralized layer and it's sufficiently decentralized because they serve the Ethereum stack, they're very dominant there and they're very adaptable to be used everywhere. Now, whatever new narrative comes up, and I think the new narratives could be decentralized web, decentralized social media, like these more decentralized application level kind of narratives, decentralized web, decentralized social. If these become big, they will have to use the graph in some way, shape, or form, because they will have to read and write data, right? They can't just look at Ethereum blockchain and build decentralized social media, because Ethereum is not like that. Same as most other blockchains. So yeah, I think the graph under the radar right now, I would say. Yeah, people don't really understand what it is. But if you're a developer, you work with REST APIs, you worked with GraphQL APIs, and you need a decentralized way to access that from every blockchain, you go through the graph. They are the only player. So if you look at it that way, the graph is definitely at least B tier. Has really great potential. Sandbox, I would put it one tier higher than Decentraland because they have the team, they have the capability for the BD, they have money. Their game hasn't released. So there's something going for them. I think Metaverse itself, the Metaverse narrative, it has to reinvent itself. And Sandbox could fit into whatever the new hype wave for Metaverse is later on. But currently they are a bit lost. They're still just pursuing the same Metaverse, which doesn't really have that many users. But I think their team is way more active than Decentraland, so they'll make something out of it. Theta, B or C, I would say like Theta, their model and their dominance in what they do, which is sharing video bandwidth in a decentralized way and rewarding people with tokens. Very similar to Helium's model because they were able to find this decentralization and tokenomics and some mining narrative into a thing that people use widely on the internet. However, their penetration and their dominance isn't as strong as Helium because Helium, they have a real 5G network, right? Theta is, nobody really streams video over Theta. It's their own apps and their network isn't hardware level as Helium. So Theta is a bit easier to replace than Helium. That's why I feel like they're probably C tier for their infrastructure. But they are rich. They're a very capable team. They have delivered a lot. They have proven themselves to really care about their token holders, and their token holders got really rich. So at least C tier, right? I think they have to reinvent themselves a bit more, just like the other guys in C tier. Thorchain I would put as B. So Again, rich team, tokenomics problem, very capable, and few things that's going for them. Even though they're not that big an ecosystem, they do have a really open ecosystem, and they are really well received in the DeFi crowd. So that's a big plus versus some of the other Metaverse stuff in the C tier. And on top of that, they are technically in the cross-chain or multi-chain narrative as well, because they initially started as Thorchain to bridge kind of Bitcoin to Ethereum and legacy coins to Ethereum and other layer ones for DeFi purposes. So that's really cool. So their technology and their holders, their ecosystem understands this cross-chain narrative. So I think they could easily fit into this cross-chain narrative once the Chainlink and the Cosmos type of thing really takes off in the cross-chain narrative in the next cycle, in the omni-chain narrative. So Thorchain probably B tier. They have a lot of things that they can do. Tokenized exchange. I think this is a centralized exchange token for a security token platform. I don't even know anyone that uses this. D tier. On this icon, you might have never seen it. This is the open network. The platform is just called the open network, but it's actually the layer 1 blockchain built by Telegram. I bet you didn't know that. So there's a layer 1 blockchain by Telegram. Telegram is integrating wallets and a whole ecosystem from your Telegram IDs that you can interact with the app itself. I would say they're somewhat closer to B, like high A at least, high C, like similar to Algorand, like high C, because everyone in crypto uses Telegram, right? The crypto fan base on Telegram is so big that whatever they come up with, it's just going to have massive adoption. Now, the reason why you've never heard of this is because they had huge regulatory problems. I think they raised like $3 billion or something, but they weren't able to use that money at all. I think even just very recently, they're finally able to develop the open network and release it to the public. So pay attention to this. It might be big actually. Tron, I would put it as like low C. The drill, like Justin Sun is not going to make the coin die. It's his ego and it's his shitcoin. It is what it is. They're not going to innovate that much, but they're going to copy paste things that they can do, and it's easy to do. Yeah, C tier, I would say. They're rich. They have a capable team. They're not going to move into top 10 or top 20, but they'll remain in top 50. Yeah, for sure remain in top 50. Trust Wallet token. Most C tier, I'll probably put it as D tier. I have never seen anyone hold this token or talk about it or use it at all. Yes, Trust Wallet has a huge user base because of BSC, because of most people that trade on BSC and don't have a computer from a third world country. They trade on their mobile and they use Trust Wallet because it has PancakeSwap and BSC integrated natively. That's the main benefit for it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Why would you hold this? I have never heard anyone invest in this or even talk about it. Uniswap, definitely B tier, maybe even A tier. I would put Uniswap as A tier, to be honest, because if there's one thing I would bet in for DeFi, it's Uniswap, right? If there's no Uniswap, there was no DeFi Summer. They kickstarted DeFi Summer. They are still the #1 decentralized exchange by far. They continue to innovate and to pivot. Yeah, and if and when there's a way to turn on revenue sharing, like Uniswap is going to be billions in the revenue per year for their token. So yeah, I would say I would put Uniswap as A tier. They're even in better positions than Curve, Aave, Frax. Yeah, for sure. Lido, they have way more moat. And these guys are just super motivated to keep building and improving this decentralized exchange, which pretty much they invented. They invented Uniswap V1. V2 was huge improvement. V3 is actually massive improvement as well. And they're also looking to implement NFT trading. Huge props to those guys. Actually very inventive guys and moving the space forward. A tier, yeah. Leo token, this is the token of Bitfinex exchange. D tier, yeah. Nobody uses Bitfinex, let alone the exchange token. VeChain, I would put as C tier. Yeah, C tier. Only reason VeChain is not in D tier is because even though they didn't innovate in the 2021 bull market, they didn't do a EVM, just like Tezos and EOS. However, at least they pumped their own token price. So they care about their token holders, right? So that, you got to give it to them. They deserve to be in C tier. Their team is clearly capable. They have a lot of money and they're still actively working on it. Unlike Tezos and EOS and IOTA, Now, whether they can purely position themselves in some sort of narrative in the next cycle, we don't know, because it seems like they weren't too inventive and agile, move a little bit too slowly to catch on to EVM. So that's why they're in C, they're not in B. But yeah, I think they'll still be around, and they do care. They're definitely active. Whitebit token, another exchange token for an exchange that nobody really uses, so D tier. Chain XCN, again, it's a layer 1 chain, it's new, but as far as I know, like nothing is getting built on there. It's for how big an ecosystem it is. This thing swings like 50% a day up and down. So yeah, it's not really that good. I don't think anyone really uses this or talks about this chain at all. Zcash, again, very important technology, but F tier because it's privacy coins. You have to avoid it right now. And last but not least, Zilliqa. So Zilliqa, yeah, very curious case for Zilliqa. They popped up in the late stages of 2018. They had actually a huge bull run. I think they themselves did 1000x since ICO, but they very quickly died, even though they were, I think, the first next gen Ethereum killer layer 1. They didn't do anything. Like they took all that hype and stopped working on it. Once EVM layer 1s really popped up, nobody was interested in Zilliqa. Like that, they went from the hot new coin to boomer coin in 1 quarter. So I don't know what happened, but like it really a big shame for them. They could have been so big in the layer 1 rotation because they were right there, right? So many people were calling them the Ethereum killer, and they ended up as the dumpster fest. Like they ended up as the least favorite ecosystem where nobody built on it and nothing was happening. So it was really sad story. But Zilliqa D tier, I don't think they're still around. I don't think they're gonna come back. So yeah, that's it. That's the tier list. Let's give it a review. So S tier, Bitcoin, Ethereum, very fair. A tier, yeah, I don't know. I would downgrade Arweave to B tier. Like, I don't think it's as legendary as these other coins in A tier. So A tier, Binance Coin, Chainlink, Cosmos, Polygon, XRP, Uniswap. It's a pretty fair list, I would say. B tier, these are mainly the guys that have really clear direction, really capable team, really good business setup, no messed up tokenomics, some sort of like niche and competitive edge that they're dominating in, and very adaptable. They have a few of these categories filled, but not all, right, in B tier. So really good. Yeah, I'm happy with this B tier. C tier consists of the guys that have either like super big community or extremely well known, super rich, or like really long legacy, but just they haven't really found their way to break out yet, to latch onto some sort of narrative, but they're clearly still around and have a potential. Is C tier. I would say these guys, yeah, pretty fair. D tier is like the guys that are too legacy, stop working on it, or just overall like exchange coins or other platform coins, or layer 1s that have died, that stopped working, or just other coins that are not worth holding if you already hold these other coins in A and B. Pretty fair. And then F tier, avoid for one reason or another. Yeah, really happy with this. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Yeah, that's the video. Thanks guys for tuning in. This is a pretty long video, but hope this was insightful and helpful. This was certainly fun to do. If you like this content, please subscribe and share it with your friends, and check out all of our other socials and join our Discord if you have more questions, discord.gg/bacon. And thanks again. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.